Welcome to Martina's Morning Munchies. Look at me, I'm awake in the daytime hours. And I'm also wearing an outfit that's gonna age very well throughout the seasons. I always dress like this all the time when I'm up in the morning. I absolutely don't. Today's Martina's Morning Munchies is going to be for all the tea lovers out there. I know, I'm not betraying my coffee love. I'm still making something with caffeine in it. But today I'm going to be making royal milk tea. Now I know it doesn't sound like something very Christmassy or very holiday oriented, but instead of using normal black tea, I'm going to be using chai. And I feel like chai has like that kind of, I don't know, cardamom and nutmeggy cinnamon tastes that are kind of associated with the wintertime and the holidays for me. But I do have a major question here. If you're not in a place that's cold and warming, like you live in California or Australia, the things like cinnamon and nutmeg and cardamom and like warming stuff like that, does it still make you think of Christmas time? Or is it something totally different? Are you like, ah, the smells of prawns? Now I'm in a deep question about all this. Please let me know in the comment section. But I digress. Royal milk tea, what is it? It's very popular in Asia. It's very popular in Japan. You can get it from vending machines. You can buy an instant version of it where you like add the powder to hot water and mix it up. So what's the difference between milk tea and royal milk tea? So milk tea is when you just take like a normal tea, you steep it, and then you add milk to it. But royal milk tea is made with very special royal milk from royal cows. Basically, there's this long line of these cows that were kind of like specially bred for princes and queens and kings to use, and they ate specific things which made their milk like super special, and then that's the kind of milk that you use to make royal milk tea. Just messing with you guys. All of that was absolutely not true. Royal milk tea is just tea that is made with more milk when you're actually brewing it. So it's not adding the milk in at the end, but you're gonna boil the leaves in water and you're gonna boil the milk, and we're gonna kind of like mix them together. Oh, I almost Spice Girls again, you guys. Now this is a pretty simple recipe. What you're gonna need is some kind of a black tea, you need hot water, and you're gonna need milk or any kind of a milk substitute that you use, soy milk, or if you use like nut milk, you know, you just take the almonds and you just milk them for their milk. Oat milk, which is basically just like bread milk. Whatever one you want to use, it should be fine. I'm going to be using two different types of tea. So I'm using chai tea, which is just, I think, chai. You don't need to say tea, right? It's just like chai. It's like saying chai chai. And I'm going to be using like a common black tea bag. I'm going to be cutting this open and pouring it in. So one thing I will need is a strainer at the very end. I'm going to be using this little tiny strainer like this, but if you don't have one, you can pour it through one of those loose leaf tea bags. And if you don't have that, you can pour it through a coffee filter. If you don't have that, you can pour it through like a giant strainer that you might use for like pasta or ramen. And if you don't have that, I just don't know how to help you. And you will need some kind of a sweetener like sugar or honey. You don't have to, but I personally find that it does taste better with like a little hint of sweetness. Now, if you don't have loose leaf tea, that's okay. You can use a normal black tea bag, but there are a couple things you should know. Really, really finely ground up tea leaves like this that are kind of like powdery, they do tend to get more bitter, and they tend to be more, here's a word that I can't say, astringent. I think I've said it. It's that feeling in your mouth when you're like it's kind of dry and puckery tasting. Loose leaf leaves don't actually have as much bitterness to them. Of course, you can boil the heck out of them and make it bitter, but they tend to be more flavorful because it's the whole leaf. So it does make for like a richer kind of taste. And if you're gonna be making royal milk tea, you might as well use something a little bit richer. I like to kind of merge these two together because I find that like the common black tea just makes me feel homely and warm. It's actually very big in East Coast Canada. So whenever I would hang out with my nana and granddaddy or visit my cousins in Newfoundland, there's always a pot of tea on the stove. And nothing fancy, it's just like good black tea that's been soaking there and it's super strong. You might even put like evaporated milk in it. So it has like a feeling for me of home. So I like to kind of like put the two of them together. So I'm actually gonna measure stuff in the cup. So I'm not gonna be giving you guys a recipe of like exact measurements because you can use the cup that you're gonna use it in to measure. Did that make sense? I feel like I'm turning into a grandma when I say this because when I was learning how to cook Korean food, I was learning from my friend Sokbok and her mom, and they would be like, oh, you add in 3 spoons. And you're like, 3 spoons of what? Tablespoon, teaspoon? And they're like, you know, 3 spoons. And they're just using a spoon. You do kind of get a feeling for things as you cook, and it's quite hard to like specify the amount. So in this case, we're going full Grandma Martina method. We're gonna be measuring things in the cup we got it in. Let's get started. Welcome to the oven space. I have decorated it for you. Get the cup that you're using and we're gonna measure 2 cups of water right up to the top. And using the same cup, we're gonna go for 1 full cup of milk or whatever milk thing you're using. I personally I frickin' love milk, you guys. Milk is just such a delicious thing to me, and Japanese milk is so good. It's so creamy. It's just so delicious. I used 4.4%, like nearly full fat milk to make one of these a couple times, and it was so good. Flame on. Okay, turning the milk down. Okay, I'm gonna cut open my tea bag here. So things you want to keep an eye on for when you look at the milk is going to get kind of this like steamy surface. And if you see that steamy surface, it means it's just about to head towards like that boiling point. So make sure you turn down your temperature if that's the case. If you let it boil, that's all right. But when it boils, it's going to kind of rise up and then it's going to sink down when you turn off the heat, and then that can create like a big skin on top. You're actually changing like the proteins and a whole bunch of things inside of it when you scald something, which I didn't freaking know. I had no idea, but apparently some recipes call for scalded milk, and I was like, what for? But it's for like changing the protein in the milk. So I guess that's why it tastes different when you actually scald it. Okay, the water's getting warm. I'm gonna actually add this in before it's ready to go. Into the pot to go. And this is my tea bag that I've cut open, and that is going inside as well. You guys, I first discovered how to make royal milk tea by looking stuff up on YouTube, and I found this like 9-year-old video with this amazing like old Japanese chef who's apparently in London in some kind of London tea room. You can definitely find this video. Actually, I'll just link to it in my info box. So the reason I'm doing this is I like a dark tea, like a dark steep taste. So what I'm trying to do is like steep the tea here first to get the flavor that I really want. And then as I add the milk, it will keep steeping, but just not as much. And the milk is gonna be warm, so it's not like you're killing the temperature. I'm gonna add in about a tablespoon of honey. So we're looking at 3 cups of liquid and a tablespoon of honey, approximately. Go, honey, go. Oh yeah. Cooking for yourself, really good because you can eat everything. When you bake food for other people, you're like, oh, I can't stick my finger in this anymore. Okay, the tea is coming to a boil. I don't want it to be insanely aggressive high boil. I'm gonna set the timer to 3 minutes. And I'm just gonna turn it down a notch. So the hotter your water is, this comes to coffee beans and to tea, it tends to bring out like a bitterness. So if you use like super boiling hot water on your coffee when you're hand dripping, it tends to make the cup taste like super bitter. The same thing can happen with tea. So if you're using like super scalding hot water on like a delicate green tea, it goes from being like a sweet, delicate flavor to just being like, wow, really bitter and like astringent. Okay, I'm gonna scoop out some of the cardamom and give them a little bit of a mash up now that they're soft. Give me that sweet, sweet cardamom seed. Oh yeah. Okay, kill the heat on your tea. And we're gonna let it sit for 1 more minute in order to steep. Tina, you really like your tea strong? I really do like my tea strong. I don't know what to tell you. So, what have you all been doing for the holiday? Have you watched any silly Christmas movies? Personally, I'm a big fan of The Holiday. I watch it every year. I also like Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds. Super funny movie if you haven't seen it. I'm a big Die Hard fan, of course. Die Hard every year. My sister does the same thing. Yippee-ki-yay, molten flamingos. One time I watched it on an airplane and they literally dubbed out all the swear words. It was very bizarre. All right. Things are about to get crazy around here. I'm either gonna screw this up on camera or not. So we're gonna turn off the heat, and now we're gonna be pouring this into here and this into here, and we're gonna kind of go back and forth. We're trying to aerate it, create some creaminess and create some air. Here we go. back onto the heat. We're gonna bring this back up to a boil. Keep an eye on it. This is not a walk away kind of thing. Don't walk away, unless you wanna see my heart breaking. Don't walk away. Wait, isn't it Don't Turn Around? I can't remember. Ace of Base fans, where are you at? Okay, just want to get this little foamy center going. And kill the heat. And we're gonna put it back in again. Okay, before I put the heat back on, I'm gonna give it one taste to see how it's doing. Yum, I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. And kill the heat. And you can see that the tea is really pouring easily now, like it's not sticking behind anywhere when you look into the pot. So I'm just gonna add it one more time back into this one because this is the easier pot. And I'm gonna use this pot for serving up. No. Get your glass and your strainer. We're gonna pour it through the strainer, and that way we're not gonna get all those little chunks inside of our mouth. Didn't feel right, I should not say that. I added a little bit of hot water to my cup just to warm it up, because sometimes if you're using glass and you pour something really hot in, you can shock it and break it. I don't want to break this. This is way too cute. This looks like a knockoff Totoro, but you know it's not Totoro because they would totally be sued if they used the Totoro image. So it's like kind of Totoro. It's like Bro-Toro or like Motoro, but like not quite Totoro. Now to taste my creation. It's very hot, by the way. I almost always burn myself. Will this be the time that I don't burn myself? Ooh, that is lovely. It's creamy. It has like the taste of black tea that I like from home, but it's also got that spicy chai-ness to it. This chai actually has pink peppercorn in it, so it's literally a little bit spicy. The cardamom adds that extra kind of like Christmassy vibe to me. So good, you guys. I hope you give royal milk tea a try. It's finally a recipe for tea lovers. I've done it. If you're watching this video in a different month and it's not actually holiday season, welcome. Yeah, and if you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Martina, and welcome to King Kogi's kingdom and the airship. And I have to tell you a secret, which is that I've filmed this video twice because the first video imported into my computer and then Final Cut crashed and deleted my project and said that it was unopenable. And so this is the second time I'm filming it. But you know what? That's okay, just more royal milk tea for me. I literally have an extra royal milk tea in the fridge. See this? I mean, there's not much left. There's only this much left. But yeah, the other thing is ice it. So good iced, so good as a cocktail. Let me know if you guys create it. Happy 2021. Let's hope that 2022 can get a little bit better. So comforting. Keeping it cool in the King Kogi kingdom.